uh, the media in terms of where we see our country, the state too. And we are privileged this afternoon that this press conference unusually is being graced by different political formations, and in these different political formations is the Forum for Democratic Change. One Uganda, one people, one people. To the same effect is the JEMA, that is headed by His Excellency Honorable Asman Basalirwa. We are also graced with the presence of the President and leader of PPP, Honorable Saki, most welcome. We are also humbled by the presence of the Chairman of the Forum for Democratic Change, Honorable Waswa. You all know him, you're most welcome. We are equally humbled by the presence of the Lord Mayor and the Vice President of the Forum for Democratic Change. You're most welcome. We are humbled by the presence of the Secretary General of the National Unity Platform, the spokesperson of the Forum for Democratic Change, the head of mobilization, NUP. We have another eminent leader, a member of us in the struggle for a very long time, an astute fellow, the Honorable Mukaku. You're most welcome. We have the Honorable Nzu, the Deputy President of Western Uganda, Forum for Democratic Change. You're most welcome. I want now to invite our speaker of Honorable Asman Basalirwa to take us through a prayer. You are a bit holy. I know from Kira College that you are holy, and I know that Allah, with the holiness of Kira College, will bless upon us in these deliberations. I thank you.
Thank you very much. In honor of the Almighty, let's stand up. The Almighty God, we thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for the opportunity to come back here, gathered here for the good of our country. We know we have individual aspirations, but we also recognize that this country is bigger than all of us, and also recognize that Uganda is here forever. Give us wisdom and guidance as we deliberate and go through today's session for the good of our country. Amen.
Because I would have been lost. I thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me straight away in the interest of time, invite the person going to take us through the rest of this session this afternoon, and that is very able, Honorable Senator Ibrahim. You're most welcome.
The party presidents, our leaders in the different formations, the media, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for honoring our invitation. My colleague from North has given the background. We will have a joint statement that's going to be read to you, to the country, through you, and then we will have the leaders of political parties and different formations making comments. We will not follow any order. We will just invite them, maybe the way they are seated. So I now want to invite on our behalf the Secretary General of National Unity Platform, who will read the statement. When he has completed reading of that statement, the leaders will cite that statement, and after that, leaders of the different political parties and formations will make a few comments, and then we'll allow maybe a few questions of clarification, and then our meeting will end again. The president of the FDC, as you are aware, left prison yesterday, but he has asked one of the deputies, the road mayor, who will be the one signing on his behalf, on behalf of the FDC. He will also be the one making a brief comment on behalf of the FDC. I now want to invite, we'll start with the reading of the statement by the Secretary General of NO, and thereafter we'll be inviting our leaders to make comments on that statement. So, Secretary General, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, this is a joint statement of political leaders, political parties, formations against the present thuggery of elections in Uganda as exemplified in the by-elections of Kayunga, Omoro, and Soroti. 1st August 2022. Fellow countrymen and women, the people of Uganda have for many years been irritated by the present rigging of elections by the Museveni regime. The past 5 general elections have been far from free and fair. At every election cycle, Museveni and his small clique of henchmen have continuously usurped the will of the people of Uganda, aided by the military, the Electoral Commission, and all manner of state apparatus. The judiciary, which should ordinarily dispense justice in election matters, has not done so because it is equally under capture. Be that as it may, the various political parties and formations have continuously participated in these elections because of our firm belief that democracy and the rule of law are the most ideal means through which we can have the peaceful transition and change of leaders at the lower levels. Unfortunately, the quality of elections has now gone from bad to worse, each election being worse than the previous one. Mr. Simon Byabakama's Electoral Commission has proved itself to be the worst in the history of our country. The rigging and open-air thuggery, as exhibited in the by-elections of Kayunga, Omoro, and Soroti, is now done with so much boldness and ridiculousness. This demonstrates the crisis at hand. Among others, the three by-elections have been characterized by the following. 1. Kayunga. The Electoral Commission in Kayunga supplied critique ballot papers to regime operatives. They arrested over 100 of Honorable Harriet Nakwede's polling agents and supervisors the night before and on election day, in the hope of carrying out ballot stuffing and returns. Robin and Abanja went on a bribing spree, some of which you members of the media captured. Despite all the ballot stuffing and violence, Honorable Harriet Nakwede emerged winner with a difference of over 15,000 votes. Shamelessly, the Electoral Commission announced the NRM candidate winner without any results. Contrary to the law, the Electoral Commission refused to hand over a copy of the tally sheet, relied on to declare results at the tally center because there was none. They gave themselves several days to doctor both the tally sheet and their forms. Recently, the regime has ensured that the election petition in Kayunga is dismissed on the most ridiculous grounds. The will of the people of Kayunga was usurped. In Omoro, ladies and gentlemen, the regime took advantage of the poverty-stricken population and engaged in open bribery with items like soap and maize flour. Some people were bribed with as low as 2,000 shillings. Early morning on voting day, regime operatives working with crime intelligence moved from
polling station, arresting Honorable Tolit Simon's polling agents and supervisors. By the end of the day, over 60 polling agents and supervisors out of 84 polling stations had been arrested, with the majority of the polling stations not manned by the polling agents assigned. The regime had a field day staffing. A man called Moses Kalangwa and other thugs took over the election. Yet again, the Electoral Commission had supplied critique ballot papers to regime operatives who transported them in vehicles without number plates. Whoever questioned the open day thuggery was quickly arrested and detained, including members of parliament and other leaders. Hundreds of people were ferried from neighboring districts participating in the voting. Despite a very low turnout in Omoro, the Electoral Commission gifted to Mr. Andrew Olanya with over 14,000 votes, and the Electoral Commission refused to avail copies of the tally sheet, and their forms relied on to declare results within the time frame within which one could lodge an election petition. The third instance is Soroti. As we all saw in Soroti, police and the military spent the night prior to the election raiding homes of Honorable Moses Satan's polling agents and supervisors. FDC leaders, including the party president, were arrested and detained in Dokolo and other districts. The Electoral Commission yet again supplied regime operatives with critique ballot papers in favor of the NRM candidate, many of whom were caught red-handed by the ordinary people and were restored by the police. Vehicles without number plates were deployed to transport critique ballot papers in Soroti. Every leader who dared question or deter the ongoing ballot staffing was quickly arrested and detained. Some polling stations were closed before time and all voting materials confiscated by regime officials. At other polling stations, the residue of ballot papers after voting were collected and ticked in favor of NRM Zariko and thrown into ballot boxes. No tally sheet before the sham counting could start. At the tally center, several false violations. Now therefore, we, the undersigned leaders, the leaders who are here, on behalf of our respective political parties and formations, recalling the sacrifices of our people over the years, including the thousands of Ugandans who died in the war that General Museveni led, claiming to fight against election rigging, do hereby make it clear that we shall not watch on as General Museveni, aided by the Wakama, Nabanja, Kodong, Tango Doi, and their ilk, to continue to hijack the will of the people with impunity. The what can they do attitude must stop. Elections must be free and fair, short of which they are not fit to be called elections. Going forward, we shall jointly or severally use any upcoming elections to organize and rally the population to defend their democratic rights and end the election madness that has bedeviled our country since independence. The current mega socio-economic crisis is directly related to the population having no say on how their country and their resources are managed. It is therefore urgent for the country to focus on how to get out of the current crisis and to procure a transition to an inclusive and democratic dispensation. I thank you very much.
Manyinaza mpuliriza yeye embeera eriwo genda ku YouTube KI Mukulembeze, Facebook tugenda kugijjako, genda ku YouTube KI Mukulembeze, link yiyaawo. Opposition yeegasse. Kino kyekiriwo ssaawa zino. Opposition yoyo Dr. Kizza Besigye, His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, muganda waffe wa Jema naye waali, gwe naali wano okwebaza kikulu, naye nsaba tugende tulabire ku YouTube, Facebook eno essimu ngenda gikozesa ku bifaananyi. Genda ku YouTube gye tuli live, kamera
Right now we'll be witnessing the signing.
Each leader is to sign.
So when that has concluded,
Yes, mwebale mbalaba batandise okugenda ku YouTube nga tetunnaba kuva ku Facebook, nabo batandise okusayininga. Ndi kumpi.
Speaker of Kampala, CA.
is also with us here. So the next
abakulembeze baabo basayininga Elias Lukwago akiikiridde Amuriat, ndowooza oyo mumumanyi omwami owookubiri. Dr. Kizza Besigye yuuyaawo, His Excellency Kyagulanyi Robert Ssentamu owa Jema Yuli. Mwebale mugende ku YouTube, Facebook tugenda kuvaako, njagala kugattako bifaananyi. Mwebale yeyo linki awo wansi, KI Mukulembeze Official. Opposition yeegasse, ezzeemu ne yeegatta, buli omu asayininga okukkiriza nti akalulu ka Museveni kali violent, kitegeeza twetaaga option endala. Gwe nali ku YouTube okola omulimu munene, weebale kubeerako. Facebook genda kubeera nkijjako bambi, gendayo mangu ku Facebook, YouTube. Mikwano gyange baagala nnyo, ejjagala nnyo beera nti mbaweereza naye bimanyi okutabuka. Saawa zino nkutte essimu bbiri ate emu yeetaaga ebifaananyi. Awo nkugambira mukwano, omutima mulungi, genda ku YouTube olabireeyo, linki yeeyaawo. Oba gwe atalina linki, genda ku KI Mukulembeze Official, ojja kubeera olaba obunyonyi, osaawo subscribing, owakinge, because tuleeta bya struggle only. YouTube ya KI Mukulembeze. Kale bekamberekereze bamukwano munansonyiwa, abajoyininzeeyo 10 baba bamala bwekibanga kiri bwe kityo. Namba eno yonna yonna ensigaddeko ekegende ku YouTube bambi sibakakawula mbasaba ekamberekereza. Kale tunaddamu kubanga bw'oyagala okwongera kulaba genda ku YouTube KI Mukulembeze Official, osobola okumugenda mu maaso nga bigenda okuggwa. KI Mukulembeze Official yeyo linki, oba ku Facebook kwennyini genda kwongera okuteekako linki so that emisimu gikozese ebifaananyi. Mwebale mumagobi aga Facebook asobola okukolera ku YouTube. Facebook omagobi zinafuna amaanyi, tugenda teekako na YouTube bbiri boy. Ngatandika okusasula olumala emapulesi, ngatandika okufuna abanja boy. Bino bidata YouTube abo bagenda kulinnya beri
bakugobererayo ne bajjayo ne babeera byonna wabifiiringa
kyengulayo leero eno president kimaze okubikolera balaba we bali omajja si mu bibi bya ddala.
bwe kiri era kubanga abayini buli muntu aba mu akawunti ajja nga individual
gaba majja. Yes, mbebaza abali ku YouTube, mwebale oyo His Excellency Kyagulanyi basayininga memorandum of understanding nti yes akalulu ka Museveni kabaddewo naye kalimu emivuyo mingi, tuyina okukanoonyeza amagezi. Facebook nvuddeyo olw'ensonga ezimu oba endala. ekibuga ekyaddiriza
It appears to me that the signing has been completed. We will make copies and distribute to you, the media, after the briefing. And I'm going to start from my right. We will have the FDC president, we have two vice presidents here, and I want to invite the FDC chairman. The three of them will come here, and the party mayor will make the FDC deputy president will make very brief comments, and then we'll be inviting the rest of the party leaders. So can we have the FDC?
Before you, members of the press and leadership of the FDC, I then introduce to you the national chairman, Ambassador Billy, and also the deputy president, Western Region, the Honorable Zo, and myself, the president from our party president was arrested and detained in the forum. I was not able to make it this meeting today. But our position is very clear on elections in this country. They are fraudulent. They are removal of democracy. What we have just witnessed in Soroti is despicable. On the eve of the elections, over 100 leaders and agents who had been deployed to man the electoral process were arrested, detained in various detention centers. Some were detained as far as Dover, including the party president, and the others were taken to Kenya. Quite a number of honorable members of parliament, including the honorable Zo here, who was also arrested, had been committed by these leaders. And indeed, there are no charges that were preferred against it. On the 14th day, it was mayhem. It was staggered, nothing else. And what happened? They raided various polling stations. In some polling stations, there was open bribery at polling stations. And also, members agents were picked. They could not witness what had happened. And you can imagine they were returned to the polling centers after the conclusion of the exercise, only to sign declaration of results forms. And as you have heard from the statement that has been read before you, at some polling station, the residue materials were pre-ticked, were ticked in favor of Ariko, and it's halved in the ballot boxes. And lots of dirty things happen. Of course, in total violation of the electoral laws, the criminality that was committed was done before cameras. Some of you witnessed what happened. Even the 350 ballot papers, you all captured them on your screen, on your cameras. And there was no shame at all on the part of the regime to orchestrate this bloody stagger. And we roundly reject the results of that election. It does not reflect the will of the people of Soroti East. does not in any way meet the standards set in the Constitution. And as we said earlier on, it's nothing else but a mockery of democracy. Going forward, we insist that the provisions of Article 3 give us a clear position and state power or not commit treason. So we state in no uncertain terms that what happened in Soroti is treasonous. All those agents of the regime, starting with Museveni himself, was the mastermind behind this, coming to Nabanja, the Prime Minister, and many others, the Tambo Dois, the Mukulas, and whoever, they committed treason. And once we commit treason, it's incumbent upon Ugandans to rise to the occasion. Because there is a command that we have already cited in the Constitution of the Constitution. That command under Article 3, that the duty rests with Ugandans to stand up and deal with that kind of buffoonery. So it's up to now the people of Uganda. And as the FDC, we make a commitment to work hand in hand with our brothers and sisters in all the party formations that have committed themselves to this instrument, to do whatever within our means and the provisions of Article 3 of the Constitution to defend the will of the people. It's important because the cornerstone of democracy, the cornerstone of constitutionalism is upholding the will of the people. So electoral exercises which do not reflect the will of the people are a farce, a mockery of democracy. So this was a sham exercise, and the trail of that has been happening, as you were told. It happened in Omoru, happened in Kayunga. You have not been in any way helped by the institutions that are supposed to dispense justice. I will specifically talk about, as I conclude, what happened in the case of Nakwe. It is horrible. And it was well orchestrated. The case which was filed, the papers were duly submitted before court the pleadings, and the registrar took his time to sign on the notice of presentation of the petition. And the law requires that the notice of presentation of petition shall be served together with the petition. Now the registrar took his time. I think after filing the petition, he did not sign the notice of presentation of the petition. He waited until after 4 days. And when you count the days, the 7 days provided for in the law, the service was done within time. Because he indicated the day when he signed, when he appended his signature on the notice of presentation of the petition. But the judge dismissed him from the technicalities that service was done out of time. You can see how the judicial has also been drafted into this network, this racket of thuggery, and a couple of other cases we can cite. So we can't stand this. We can't watch the arms folded. We are saying, going forward, in the ongoing election cycles, it's not going to be business as usual. And we want Ugandans to embrace this message. We are committed here, working together as a team, as a formidable team, because we stand on the right side of the Constitution. We are the Constitution of this Republic of Uganda is on our side. And we invite Ugandans to firmly stand with us, and all of us who are before you here, we want to speak with one voice, we want to sing in unison that enough is enough,
and we must deal with this buffoonery, with this thuggery, with this madness, with this nonsense as a mainstream. And we invite all stakeholders, please join us in this struggle. The very final thing is we invite the respective supporters of this formation, the members of the FDC, the members of MOVE, the members of JEMA, PPP, and all other stakeholders. Let's bury our differences and rescue this country from the precipice. We rescue this country from the cliff. We are sitting on a time bomb as a nation. Unless we come together and deal with this madness, the junta will always go away with their attack. Those remarks, we would like to reiterate our commitment to deal with this nonsense as a united front. May God bless you. I thank you.
Mukwebaza alikuke ayi mukulembeze.
In less than a minute, banabye okuvumula sijja kuddamu bingi naye ekiriwo mu ggwanga tewakyali kulonda mwami oyo Museveni akola byayagala era ensonyi zonna bazinaabye kati gyebadde bakola mu nkukutu nga basitafinga olw'ekiro bagezaako okuyisa wano ne wali ne babuzaabuza kati babikola mu misana gwaka mu ngeri ya kinambyo kyankimize ayagala kyoyagala okukola kikole kati tebakyabikkako n'akamu era oba wabadde akakyalimu akakunkuna Museveni yalagidde ddala nti kati okulonda asalawo bwayagala ekyabadde Soroti bakutte ba agents ne ba leaders party president of FDC ne bamutwala ne bamusibira eddokolo paka ludaku lwajjo abakulembeze ne ba agents abasukka mu 1,000 polling stations ziri 63 abo bwe bakutte babadde basobola ozimaninga bulungi naye buli babadde balaba kyajja kuwanyisa obubbi nga bakwata kubasi nga basiba tewalina misango gye babakuddeko balina polling stations ezimu ng'otatayi a minute we batuuse nga materials si okulonda kuwe naye waliwo balupepo bwasigaddewo ne bamukwata bonna ne bamukiikimira aliko ne bamuteekamu wali ne babala ba agents babakwata ne babatwala ne babasiba naye bwe babakomyawo olwegula abamu nga bagamba kati mulunje musayinike ebyala forms kifuba mundu gwa mundu ne babazaayo kukomera kakati eryo lyonna effujjo lye bakoze obanabbanja abatanga odoyi baani musemateeka liraga nti baba bazizza omusango ogwa nakomera obayita treason soma article 3 omenya semateeka n'okola effujjo oba omenye oba ozizza omusango ogwa nakomera era semateeka mu nnyingo eyokusatu akiteeka ku bannayuganda bonna nti bwe mulabanga omuntu alwanyisiza semateeka ng'aleesewo effujjo nga bye baakola baze bakola mu kulonda kuno mulina obuwaŋŋanga ng'amateeka bwe galabira so n'olw'ensonga eyo ffe ng'aba FDC tuli beeteefuteefu era tuwa n'okukakasa eggwanga nti tukwataganye ne bannaffe ab'ebibiina ebirala byonna okugenda mu maaso okulwanagana ne mwami Museveni obutakyusa bw'ebyabantu era ebyo tweyama semateeka kitukakatako era nga tusaba nti mwenna abali eri abatuwagira bamemba b'ekibiina kyaffe ekya-FDC bamemba b'ekibiina ekya NU ekya JEMA ekya PPP n'abalala mwenna abannayuganda ne bwe tuli mu kibiina tuleke okulumaŋŋana twaŋŋange n'akyemalira nga tuli kitole nga tugenda mu kalulu kano obululu bulina obuddako naye tumwaŋŋange nga tuli kitole so tuli wano okweyama tetulirede okukola omulimu ogwo okulwanyisa n'akyemala mwebale nnyo mwebale
ndowooza mpuliriza kuke ayi mukulembeze United Forces banange musharingi YouTube link eno mu groups ez'enjawulo mbasaba
I want to invite our elder who is also leading the Red Card movement, as you all know, retired Dr. Kizza Besigye, to give his brief comments. The request of the media is that when you finish the English version, you make, you summarize in Uganda. That's the request from the media. And now, by Dr. Besigye and members of
A very good afternoon to all of you, ladies and gentlemen of the press. I think what we are doing here today, first of all, of course, as you realize, is mainly an engagement of political parties, because political parties are the ones that go to elections. I am not leading a political party, and so I am not leading to the elections. And therefore my position is slightly different from theirs. But what we are dealing with here today is a very, very fundamental element of how this country will proceed. And I just want to make 3 points on that, in that regard. First is that we are making this statement when our country, Uganda, is in the middle of one of the worst socio-economic crises that our country has faced. Every person almost, save for those whom we are united to work against, and they are a handful of people, every other citizen is in crisis of survival. In fact, we characterized the crisis in the country as a crisis of failure to thrive. Failure to thrive. An FTT crisis. That's the crisis in which our country is found today. Now, this crisis is a result, a direct result. It's an economic crisis, it's a social crisis, but the cause of the crisis is political. And the political cause to the crisis is what we are dealing with today. The fact that the people who live in this country, the greatest majority of the people who live in this country have no say in their country. That is where the socio-economic crisis comes from. That we are in a country where we have no say. We are taxed. We don't have a say as to what will happen to our money. Our wealth, which we had collected and was being managed collectively as our wealth, was all taken away by this handful of people. As we watch the national wealth in terms of public assets that Uganda had in 1986, public assets, all public assets were privatized to these individuals who are holding the country captive. And whatever else we produce, they use as they want. We have no say. That's where this crisis comes from. Having a country of people without a say on how their country is managed or how their wealth is managed. That's why people have been crying in this current budget that as people are starving, they have appropriated nearly 2 billion shillings to be spent in one family of Mr. and Mrs. Museveni. They can spend all the money they want as the rest starve. And Museveni will shamelessly come and say, there is nothing to do, just tighten your belts. For him, he's not entitled to have a belt. He doesn't need any belt. It's you to tighten your belts. So that is the cause of the crisis. Having no voice, living in a country without voice, having people without power. So the struggle that the country must undertake is to regain power, to regain influence in the country. That's the struggle, to shift power from those who captured it to those who don't have it. It's a power shift. Now, so the last point I want to make is how does that power shift from those who captured it to those who are now victims of powerlessness? How does the power shift? Will it shift by those who captured us organizing elections and that we come and vote and they say, okay, now you have power, you can now take over the country? It won't happen. And that's what we are confirming today, that the elections in and of themselves will not shift power from those who captured it with the guns to the people of Uganda. It will not shift. Or, what now I hear our brother who has just defected from us, if he was with us, and now Minister Norbert Mao,
if he was,
that he has gone to lead
if he was with us,
a process for dialogue to have reforms in the country. That is why he has gone to organize a dialogue so that there are reforms in the country. How will those reforms return the power? Even if you organize the dialogue and the reforms are actually done, let's suppose he has been successful. He has organized the dialogue, the reforms have been done. How will the reforms return the power? Because you heard from Omolodi that all the things that were done in all these by-elections, Kayunga, Omoro, Soroti, were all illegal. They were all unconstitutional. You know? It's not that there is a bad constitution or there are bad laws. No. It's that there is impunity. Those with the power override whatever law is there. They do what they want. So if you change the law, who will make sure that that law actually is respected? How will the laws be respected? How can the Constitution be respected? So dialogue, while power remains controlled by those who captured it by force, will not shift that power to those who don't have it. You can change the laws, you can change the constitution even, you can change all, but who will respect it? And whenever they want to change the constitution anyway, at any stage, they can change it again, as they have been doing. So, the way to get back our power is to unite all of us and the population to be rallied together. And once that happens, and I am very excited that I can see it now beginning to happen, I can see it happen. Even if it was tomorrow, if we say tomorrow, let all of us do this, this regime has absolutely no capacity to stop it. So, the people must reclaim their power by action. They must take the actions that gave them back their power. And this statement we are signing today, I am very glad is saying that. That we shall not go to lament that our people have been arrested. Oh, now what can we do? Now they have stopped the ballot papers. No. That we are now all going to organize. First of all, give the message to the people that it is us to ensure our own freedom. And once they get the message, we organize them to now move to take actions that will ensure their rights are respected. Not asking to serve our government in reality. We are not going to. Government is our servant, must become our servant. It cannot be our master that we are begging it, asking it. No. So, I am very, very excited this afternoon that, like the other day, you saw Mr. Museveni in uniform. And he put on that uniform. How can you call yourself a patriot who has been in charge of a country 37 years and the people are being buried for lack of food? How can you be a patriot? So, thank you, patriots, for this today. And Ufunze, siri musanyufu okuba nti tutwala ekiseera kinene nnyo nga tuvunula byetwayogedde mu Lungereza tubiteeka mu nnimi endala kubanga namwe mwatusonyiweeko ne mukukola. Yes, essaawa time is of essence, you know. So bwe njogera mu Luganda vunula oteeke mu Lungereza, bwe njogera mu Lungereza teeka mu Luganda nga bwe tukola emirimu ebirala. Nayogedde ensonga ssatu. Ekisooka nti embeera embi ennyo etalabikangako mu ggwanga lyaffe eri mu bantu baffe olwaleero bonna, embeera y'obuteesobozesa kweyimirizaawo ng'omuntu. Bannayuganda bonna teri akyasobola kweyimirizaawo, teri akyasobola kwefunira mmere nafuna ebikozesebwa awaka eyeyimirizaawo. Embeera eyo ffenna gye tulimu olwaleero ekitireese mbeera ya byanfuna, mbeera byabuweereza nti mu malwaliro temuli malagala, abaana ku ssomero babazizaayo waka ese yekka eva mu byobufuzi. Ebyobufuzi ebigamba nti bannansi abo abali mu mbeera y'akatyabagatte tulimu olwaleero nti tebalina ddoboozi mu ggwanga lyabwe. N'olwekyo ebyobugagga bw'eggwanga tebibakolera kubanga tebalina ddoboozi. Ebyasangibwawo nga twabikuŋŋaanya ngeri ebyobugagga bwaffe obwawamu mu 86 Mwami Museveni we yayingirira mu gavumenti, bye yasangawo nga tukuŋŋaanyiza ebyawamu. Sente zaali mu Commercial Bank, Uganda Commercial Bank, Cooperative Bank, simanyi biki, Uganda Railways, simanyi Uganda Airlines, simanyi Uganda Hotels, simanyi biki, bye twali tukuŋŋaanyiza byonna babigabana, abatono ne babitwala. Kati sente zetusolooza tebatusoloozamu ku mundu era kubanga tetulina ddoboozi erigamba nti otuggyemu nnyingi oba erigamba nti z'otutte zo zigenda kutukolera ki batwala ne bakozesa nga bwe bakola nga bwe baaganya. So omutawaana bwe tuwangaliramu olwaleero kuva mu byabufuzi eby'abantu mu ggwanga batalina ddoboozi. Ekituleese wano kye tukola kwe kugonjoola embeera eyo kubanga batalina ddoboozi bava batya mu butabeera na ddoboozi ne balifuna. Bw'oba tolina buyinza ova otya mu mbeera y'obutabeera na buyinza n'obufuna. Oyo yabukuwambako asobola kukutegekera akalulu akakuwa obuyinza bumuveeko bugende gy'oli nga yabuwamba buwambi. Kye babadde batulaga mu kulonda kwonna bwe tuyiseemu babadde batulaga nti obuyinza obusalirawo eggwanga lino ffe tubuyina, ffe tusalawo ani asalirawo eggwanga simu. Kye babadde batulaga abantu ne bava akalulu n'okukakuuma ne bakakuuma n'ebivuddemu n'ebirabika ne bagamba nti ne balangirira ebirala. Kati gwe kola kyoyagala oddukira mu kooti ekivaayo kyekyo omuloodi kyayogeddeko ti ne kooti nazo ziri mu bwanga. Ate babiwamba tulaba kooti amagye gagirumba misana tuku. Kooti gye tuddukiramu Black Mamba zagirumba ne zigisaanyaawo nga tulaba misana. Palamenti gye tuwoza tulina palamenti amagye gagirumba ne gagiwamba nga tulaba misana. Abamu bakyali ku migo abakulimba mu palamenti ne bamenyeko emigongo. So bakulaga nti temuyina buyinza ffe tubasalirawo. Kati bye bazze batulaga mu kalulu konna bwe tugendamu bwe kye bagezaako okutulaga. Bwe balaba nga kubanga baagala ensonga lwaki bategeka akalulu baagala kweraga eri wabweru nti nabo bayise mu mbeera y'akalulu. So kati basobola okusalawo ako mukabalekera ako nakali mukabawe basobole okugamba nti tutegeka olulake nga mwemuli mu palamenti namwe mulaba mwemuli kati bwe tubawangula lwe mukayana bwe muwangula temukayana naye nga temwawa simu be bakkiriza nti ako kabakatwale nakali kabakatwale. So ffe tulowooza era nga kyetukuŋŋaaniddeko olwaleero nti akalulu tetujja kukkiriza kagende mu maaso bwe kati nga balimba nsi yaffe nga balimba n'abeebweru. Tetujja kusigala nga tukola nga bye tubadde tukola. Batudde babakutte munnange. Tetujja kugenda mu kalulu kulajjana. Bwe tuba tugenze mu kalulu tugenda kubuulira abantu abali eri abaagala enkyukakyuka beekolemu omulimu okulaba nti obuyinza bwabwe babulwanirira mu kalulu. Fenna ne tukyengatiramu ne kitambula bamusebeti wakoma tuli maanyi gasobola ne bwaba n'emmundu ezifaanana zitya n'ebimotoka nga tusazeewo eggwanga lyonna ne tusalawo nti tetukyatambula na kino tukiyimiriza kijja kuyimirira. N'olwekyo lowooza eneetegeka yetambule tulabe kubanga bw'okuba akalulu tobba bantu abantu basigalawo. Abantu bemwalaba ensolo tibali bonna bemwalaba gye bali ye talinaayo. So bwe tugamba nti solo teyimirira ejja kukola ki? Ejja kuyimirira kubanga bagireka ng'entambula tabalina. Ate n'abo bamala ng'ababe lwakuba bakyamulaba nga yalina ensawo omusobola okuva ensako gyebajjamu ak'okulya. Naye bwe balabanga n'ekyo takyakisobola teri ajja kumubeerako. So tuli basanyufu nti olwaleero bannayuganda ffenna bandowooza sonna tuggyeyo eddoboozi nti tutambulire wamu tusooke tulabe nti bannayuganda obuyinza bwabwe bubaddidde kati bweba n'obuyinza bwe basobola okusalawo abaagala okuwagira nkola ki oba nkola ki bwetusobola okufuna akalulu ak'amazima abantu nga bamaze okufuna obuyinza. So mbeebaza mwenna abatambuziza endowooza eno, ate endowooza twebaze oba oliawo nakeeyongerayo muganda wange Robert Kyagulanyi kubanga of course ffe nga bwe mbagambye ebyebibiina twali twabiteeka dda bbali ffe tubadde olwo tetukola ki olwo tetubadde tutambula tujjako nti babadde batwala ne munnanga ono yekka obaoliawo nga tebajja kututwala fenna ekintu kiraleke bulungi kale mwebale nnyo mwebalire ddala katulabeerina ddala.
Ampuliriza alikuke ayi mukulembeze YouTube, tuli ku YouTube 1, YouTube 2. Tuli ku YouTube 2 mbebaza. Banaye musheyalinge Kyagulanyi Center Mwajja. Twagala abantu 10, musheyalinge twagala abantu 10. Kyagulanyi Center Mwajja banaye musheyalinge. Abali ku Facebook bane musheyalinge mu group mu Facebook. His Excellency Kyagulanyi yajja.
Thank you very much, Comrade Dr. Besigye and other leaders that have addressed us today. No, Dr. Besigye, not Chavada Salia, teaching college. What are the people getting more living? Now you get them in Uganda, if you lose one in the choose. But for the importance of conveying this message, I'll also use both languages. Most has been said. I cannot overemphasize the words of our brother, the Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago. I certainly cannot overemphasize the words of Dr. Besigye. That's exactly the truth and more. Where we are, ladies and gentlemen, we all see. We cannot pretend not to see. We cannot pretend not to see that Museveni organizes elections, but in real sense organizes a fight where he is over-equipped and we are zero-equipped. You saw the general elections of 2021. Get out of that crazy election only to go into another without anything gives the wrongest message to our people. In many ways, we tend to legitimize those elections. When we leave Kayunga, just to do another election, even when the Kayunga election has been a bogus one, we tend to fit into Museveni's narrative. However, we've always agreed that we go into these elections, as running platforms. However, when things come in certain ways, we have to think in certain ways as well, ladies and gentlemen. Now, having heard from my fellow leaders, I just want to send messages to two types of people, maybe three. First, I want to send a message to my fellow leaders from different political parties, different formations, from different levels. Number one, I think a time has come for us to change our gospel, for us to change our message and be more realistic to the electorate. We go into the election promising change, even at MP level, even when we know that when one becomes an MP under the Museveni regime, apart from agitating, apart from using the parliamentary platform, we can change very little. Therefore, it's my considered view that our message should be more of a revolutionary message.
whether campaigning for MP or even for LC1, the main agenda should be using that election. One, to sensitize people, but also make that election, no matter how small it is, a spark to chase the junta. I think the elections should be more for sensitization than for winning. In any case, we know that Museveni decides days, sometimes months before the election, who people know, let our supporters and voters and followers know what exactly we're going into, so that when they come from that election, whatever comes from that election, we have taken another step towards our liberation. Number two, let us try as much as possible to make that particular election a spark. Museveni is making mistakes all the time. So don't go to an election only looking for a win and walking away from there. Let's go together because that's the reality of it. Let us try to go into every election knowing that that particular election, wherever it is, can be a spark that chases Museveni away. Let us remember the Arua election. I mean, we go to elections now. They arrest our leaders. They kill some of our people. We don't do nothing. That should challenge us as leaders to think of what next. And third and most important message to the leaders, friends, let us unite. Let us unite in the real sense of unity. And this message doesn't only go to leaders at presidential or MP levels, but at all levels. You notice, friends, that we have made it easy for Museveni by fighting each other. We have changed our targets from the enemy to each other. And it's unfortunate that even those that work closely with us are not making it easy for us to come together. Now, this country is bigger than our political parties. And the mission is bigger than building our political parties. In any case, one would rightly argue that there are no political parties in Uganda because we don't operate like political parties. Political parties are recognized in a democracy. But in a country where you cannot even organize as a political party, then we cannot boast of being political parties. Therefore, we are all slaves. And the more we fight against each other, it's the more we prolong it for Museveni. I will mention that many of us leaders are working closely to each other. But you, our followers, you, our supporters, and you, our fellow leaders, especially those below us, are making it easy for us to unite and therefore unite you as well. For example, I might have a very good communication line with the Dr. Messenger, with the Honorable Kwako, with the Honorable Asumani Basaliwa. But again, those under me might undermine the same. And the same thing also applies to the other side. You know, I might be relating very well with Dr. Messenger. You don't know how many times you have a conflict, how many times we discuss it. But the more that I hear negativity from his side, or he hears negativity from my side, it even creates that suspicion. And friends, please make it easy for us to work together. My second and final message goes to the people of Uganda. We leaders have united, or at least have made an effort to unite for a common cause. But we are only leaders, and if you don't follow us where we go and where we show you, we won't succeed. So please get involved. Number one, fellow Ugandans, and this includes supporters, voters, even we the leaders, because we are also Ugandans. We are on our own, you are on your own. Therefore, get involved. Don't depend on only leaders, don't depend on only politicians. You've seen politicians sell out. Now think about those who are following them out. So don't over-depend on just the politicians. I want to believe that most of Ugandans know now where we want to go. Play a role, lead from whatever angle, from whatever position you are. Lead your people to where you want them to go. We encourage you to rise up. And on this note, I want to salute the people of Jinja, the people of Eastern Uganda, the people of Busoga, wherever they are. Thank you. Rise up, especially non-violently. Protest. Protest. Dictators only listen to protest. Don't give up, my friends, because non-violent protests work. Why Museveni will cause, that's what dropped all the dictators before him. You saw it happened in Sudan. Recently it happened in Sri Lanka. So let us rise, friends. You Ugandans, you have a big role to play in this. Do not give up. Continue protesting. I encourage it. I know that whenever the people of Uganda realistically threaten Museveni, that's when he comes out with brute force. But continue shaking him, continue shaking him. It's not as firm as he used to be. And we won't be as firm tomorrow as he is now. So continue shaking him. Last but not least, I want to remind you, friends,
tugenda mu Luganda Mandisha yalinze etuweza abantu 100.
At least to myself and my team, was people power, was the power of the people. People power means you. When you go to elections and you're frustrated, at least you know you have the power. Organize, 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 connect with all like minds. The biggest objective is to drop Museveni. These other intentions are smaller. One might want to become MP, you come from that election, they become MP, they become mayor. But for as long as Museveni is president, we are still in trouble. So let's pursue the common agenda, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I always listen to mention that we are non-violent. We do not promote violence. However, I know that there will come a time when we cannot stop even those violent ones. Okay? The Constitution commands us to defend it. The Museveni, when they were younger, they picked up guns. Do they think people can't pick up guns? So we might not be encouraging people to pick up guns, but again, we're losing the moral authority to stop whoever wants to do whatever. So can't come here. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to call upon all Ugandans, whether you're a political leader, religious leader, traditional cultural leader, etc., stand on the right side of history. We have seen not only politicians selling their souls, we've also seen religious leaders, we've seen traditional leaders, but the people are watching, the people are supreme. And at the end of the day, you'll end up in the dustbin of history. Museveni has already wasted it. So don't follow the corpse to the grave.
tugenze mu Luganda sharinga
okusooka ajja kwebaza abakulembeze bannaffe olw'okubeera naffe leero katwogerako eri eggwanga ebisinga byogeddwa era sibiwakanya binkiikirira bulungi nnyo wabula nze obubaka bwange bwa mirundi ebiri. Obusooka kugenda eri bakulembeze bannange oluvannyuma lw'okutunulira okulonda kuno okutegekebwa nga kubanga kwakubuddisa abantu kubaziba amaaso tugenda mu kulonda naye nga Museveni yasazeewo dda wiiki nnyingi oba mwezi mulango oba myezi ani agenda okulonda. Ne tugenda mu kalulu abantu ne bajoogebwa eddoboozi ly'abantu ne libulukibwa naye ate ne tuvayo ne tugenda bugenzi mu kalulu kalala. Kibanga ekigamba nti tuzze wano ne Museveni alage naddala amawanga agabugirira Uganda ssente nti okulonda kubaddewo era awangudde. Era bayogeddemu ne bakulembeze bannange ne tugamba ekyo tikigenda kugenda maaso bwe kityo ebisigi gyegenda okubeera emanya y'enkoko. N'olw'ensonga eyo obubaka bwange nga nze eri bakulembeze bannange buli nti bwe tuba tugenda mu kulonda tukyuse enjiri yaffe nga tugenda mu kulonda, tukyuse meseji yaffe nga tugenda mu kulonda. Abantu baleme genda mu kulonda nga basuubira nti tugenda kulonda kati omuntu atuyambe. In any case ne bwe baba balangiridde oyo gwe bagadde okulangirira ng'ali ku ludda lwaffe kitono kyasobola okukyusa Museveni bw'aba nga yakyatufubaddeko. N'olw'ensonga eyo tugendenga mu kulonda, bwe tuba tugenze mu kulonda tugende mu kulonda nga tumanyi nti tugenze mu lutalo, nga tumanyi nti tugenze kuzoganya, era nga tumanyi nti tugenze kuwagala bantu. Tugende mu kulonda nga tunuuyidde ebintu bingi, naye okusingira ddala okulonda okwo kuyinza okubeera emmanduso egenda okutwala Museveni. kuba buli kulonda Museveni akola ebyobuswavu bingi nnyo, buli kulonda Museveni amenya amateeka mangi nnyo. Bakulembeze bannange tukolagane kubanga tulina ebitugatta bingi okusinga ebitwawula, naye nga nekitugattira ddala ekisinga obukulu ekisinga byonna kyekyokuba nti fena tuli basibe, fena twagala kujjako Museveni. Tuyinza ogenda mu kulonda nga tuli babibiina byanjawulo ne tulumagana okwawukana mu bibiina oba okwawukana mu bakandideti ne kijjawo ekifaananyi ekikulu, ne kijjawo missoni enkulu ye Museveni kiba kimukolera. Nkiraba ebiseera bingi muva abakulembeze naddala abo abali wansi waffe ne bawagizi baffe nga ne bwe tugezaako okukwatagana bo tekibakolera. Njagala okubategeeza nti buli tulumagana tuba tuyamba Museveni. Tetwetaaga kuba bamukwano, tetwetaaga kuba nga tukubiragana essimu, naye ate era tetwetaaga kulwanagana kuba Museveni ayagala nga tulwanagana. In fact ajja kuinvestinga kyamaanyi nnyo okulaba ng'ateekawo okubagana wakati waffe kubanga kitusala sipiidi. Fe abakulembeze tuyinza okuba tukwatagana. For example kyogeddeko mu lusungu wano nti olumu tukyaliragana n'abakulembeze, naye ate mmwe bannange bakulembeze bannaffe naddala abatuli wansi mukifuula kizibu okufa okukwatagana, mukifuula kizibu okukolagana. Buli otekinga step okolagana ebigambo ebibadde muli birina kubanga bituikalekinga nti ekyo kyemukola kituufu kubanga kituufu. Nate bwe tukwatagana ate mwe ne mulufuula lutalo wakati wammwe mubiba mu bikalu bya bannange, muba mutulemesa. Ffe tumanyira okwekubira kasimu ne tunywa ne kakyali ne kati gwe kuba akafaananyi ng'oli wa NUP mbadde ne Dr. Besigye ate ng'amanyi nti oli taano wange naye n'alaba ate ng'owandiise bw'oti olowooza tabata neekengere. Abaffe gwe kuba akafaananyi tina okola naye ne tukwatagana naye ate nendaba ng'obanga obudde gy'oli buli negativu mbasigenda mwekengera. N'olw'ensonga eyo mukutukalubiriza bannange mutugondeze okwatagana kubanga obaka wange obusembayo ojja kusindika eri bagamba elections alone will not help you. Our recent history has shown us. So tulina ogenda mu kulonda nga tulina ebirowoozo eby'enjawulo. Mumanye nti tujja eyo okulonda tuba tuzze bagatta, tuba tuzze kubawagala. Okusingira ddala okulonda tulina okugenda mu kulonda nga tugenze kusoganya. Tetukyamuyiza Museveni kubeera tuvudde mu kulonda ate ne tudda mu kulala bwe tuti. Ffe nga ffe ekyatuleeta mu byobukulembeze twajja kusikula amaanyi g'abantu, tetwayita people power. Naye people power yemmwe nga abakulembeze tusobola okulaba ekkubo ne tulikwata namwe ne tubayita, naye ate bwe mutatugoberera kwata kubeere tuba tetukola ki tetujja kumalako. N'olw'ensonga eyo bannange bwe tubasongeranga awantu mukole kyetaagisa. Ekirala nja kubasaba musitukiremu buli we musobola. Buli bwagwa message oba ekudde wange oba ekudde wani kaseba nga message yakuzoganya Museveni kumujjako mujettanire musitukiremu. Mu mbeera eno njagala n'okwebaza abaana b'ebusoga, abaana b'ejjinja mwebale okwebereramu. Eyo ngeri yokka esobola okujjako Museveni. Kale nammwe bwe mulabanga bannammwe nga basituze oba baluwa bwe basituse Uganda yonna esituke, oba Uganda basituse Uganda yonna esituse, oba Kabale basituse mwenna musituke. Engeri yokka tugenda okusobola kutaasa eggwanga lyaffe. Nsogala ki Museveni ajja yeetemu n'atemula abantu kubanga munnanga akimanyi nti engeri yokka bannakyemalya gye bagenda, engeri yokka bannakyemalya w'e Sudan gyagenze, engeri yokka nakyemalya w'e Sri Lanka gyagenze. N'olw'ensonga eyo bwe mulabanga bannammwe bayimukiddemu nammwe musitukiremu basebo ne bannyabo. Nja kumaliriza nga mbasaba kubanga okubadde okusaba kwaffe bwe muba mwekalakaasa mwekalakaase mu ddembe, bwe muba mwekalakaasa temukola fujjo. Ffe yenkola yaffe tukkiririza mu kwekalakaasa, nkiddamu tukkiririza mu kwekalakaasa era tubakunga mwenna buli omukisa yekalakaase mu ddembe. Neera tubategeeza ne gavumenti eyo tugitegeeza nti wadde ffe abantu bagamba kwekalakaasa mu ddembe tumanyi nti ekiseera kijja kutuuka abantu bakoye bekalakaase munekalakaasa yonna ng'etaddeko n'eri eyakaali. Ba Museveni bekalakaasa namundu N'olw'ensonga eyo kiyamba Mwami Museveni ne gavumenti ye obutasindiikiriza abantu ku levo yakwekalakaasa namundu. Maliriza ng'era nkunga bannayuganda mwenna muorganizinge mu mbeera yammwe oba muli mu kibiina kyammwe kya byabufuzi oba temuli pate kuba bangi nnyo tebali pate. Naffe aba NUP twasooka kubeera people power era njagala nnyo bwe tuba tukola ebintu tubikola just nga bwa kibiina kyo. Bwe tuba twagala okugjako Museveni ebyafaayo byonna byonna bitulaga tewali kibiina era twakyogerako nti tewali kibiina kyonna kigenda kujjako nakyemalira nga kiri kyokka. Ekibiina kyonna ekigenda okujja kigambe nti ffe nga ffe tugenda okujjako nakyemalira baba kusubira muba mwina kukwatagana mwenna ate si bibiina byabufuzi byokka tuli wano nga bakulembeze naye muli eyo bannayuganda bangi nnyo abasobola okwekolamu omulimu. Mugende mu maaso nga mwekolamu omulimu tubawagira buli ngeri yonna namwe bannayuganda. Munnayuganda yenayina abaako kyayita abaako meseji gyabatuusaako nga yakuzoganya Museveni mumwegatteko naffe tujja beegatta kate naffe bwe tubayita mutwegatteko tukolere wamu tusobole okwetako nakyemalira basebo ne banyabo. Mwebale nnyo mwebale.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, President of NUP. Before I invite the next leader, I want to recognize the presence of leader of the opposition parliament, the Honorable Mathias Mpuga. Also recognize the presence of the chairman, Jema, Elder Haji Muhammad Maina Shirige, my colleague MP Chamus, the Honorable Moses Kabu. Immediately thank for the ones who spoke earlier. I am now powerless.
Abakulembeze bannange njakusooka n'olulimi lwensinga okutegeera Oluganda wesitegeera bulungi Oluzungu lw'ebyokusembyayo. Ffe tuli wano nga abajeema kukakasa era kwegatta ku kiwandiiko ekikoleddwa era nekisomebwa wano lwaleero. Era nga twagala kuwa bweyamu nti ebiri mu kiwandiiko ekyo byonna tujja bikolerako. Ennaku zino waliwo ekintu kye batera okuŋŋamba tekinsanyusa. Bagamba nti basaalirwa kati ye pulezidenti w'ekibiina ku opposition akyasiiza okuwangaala ennyo. Bano bonna abaliwo bansanga nga nkulembera kibiina. So unduddewo nnyo. I am the longest serving party president of an opposition political party in Uganda currently. I was earlier than him, I remember. Naye ate mukulwawo nnyo nfunyemu ebyokuyiga bingi. Kakati enteekateeka zino zonna zize zibeerawo nga ziri wakati. Okuviira ddala eri wansi tuli mu IPFC, tuzaawo tuli mu IPC, tuli mu FOC, tuli mu 4GC, tuli mu TDA, tuli mu People Power nga basaalira obendi. N'olwekyo bino byonna bye tulaba wano ebikolebwa tubibaddemu naye ate ebbanga lye tubimazeemu eggwanga lifunyemu. N'olwekyo nja kwebaza abakulembeze bannange kwatagana ng'era bwe tubadde tukola ebbanga lyonna olw'obulungi bw'eggwanga. Emabega eyo tubadde tuyina nnyo essuubi mu bululu obuddibwamu by election. Ng'era bwe bagamba nti wagenda kubeerawo by election mu Uganda wonna nga waliwo essuubi nti by election eyo ab'opposition bajja giwangula. Naye eryo essuubi ligenze likola ki? Liggwaawo. Twakiraba Omoro, ne tukiraba e Kayunga, tukirabye e Soroti, newabi awalala we wagenda okubeera sirowooza nti eryesuubi likyaliwo. Kyova olaba nga enkola eno oba enteekateeka eno bulungi nnyo kuba ejja kutuusa ku mulamwa ogw'okumanya ensi yaffe gyeraga. Finally, I am here to confirm that as Justice Forum, we fully associate with the statement or document that has been read today, that has been signed by leaders of political parties and professions that are gathered here. We commit to fully abide by both the letter and spirit of that document. Because it is our considered opinion that that document represents the future of this country. I want to invite colleagues to remember that in the recent past, each time we have had a by-election, it was a sure win for the opposition. But that possibility every day is waning, is disappearing, is dissipating. That means the need for us to come together, to discuss, to engage for the future of the country becomes necessary. It is now absolutely clear that Mr. Museveni and the NRM are provoking Ugandans. When you see what happened in Soroti, it is total provocation. What happened in Kayunga is total provocation. What happened in Umoro is total provocation. I think this is the answer. So whoever thinks they are going to provoke Ugandans, and we shall sit aside, I think this is a very big lesson. I want to remind you, colleagues, that even us leaders can be vulnerable. But as the call has been made, this struggle must be owned by Ugandans. It is you, the Ugandans, that must take this struggle ahead. In the countries where there have been change, I'll ask, and I'll talk about a country where I have been, or where I was several times before the revolution, Libya. I used to go to Libya almost every year because there used to be events there. There was no opposition in Libya. It was not there. Who among us journalists here can tell us who was the leader of opposition during the era of brother leader Muammar Gaddafi? Who? Because Gaddafi was the imam, was the leader of the opposition, was the mufti, was everything. But time came, the people rose up, even without leadership. In Tunisia, this young man who set himself ablaze, he was not a member of any political party. So that should be able to tell Ugandans that when it comes to reclaiming your country, when it is about your country, you must take charge without necessarily looking at us, the leaders. We will be present, we will provide the leadership. But if you think we are taking you to the wrong direction, please reclaim your country, because after all, this is about you, this is about Uganda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the President of Germany. You see, Soroti was very interesting. At a polling station called Abum, Catholic Church, the people they sent to arrest FDC agents didn't know them. So they also arrested an NRM agent. An NRM agent, his name is called Mwoku Michael. He has been released on the same board with FDC. They discovered that even there they had arrested. So that's how rampaging these people were. We are now inviting the president of PPP, and then we will be concluding this press conference.
Thank you very much, Honorable Semju. Fellow leaders, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what I'm going to add on what my fellow leaders have said. I will just make a few comments just to compliment on what my leaders have said. First of all, I want to thank Honorable the President of NO for this initiative, because this
this has been long overdue. This has been long overdue. We have been talking about it every day, every time. But because of these differences and those differences, every initiative that has been that we have been doing to make sure that we come together has been in vain. So I want to thank you very much that at least today you have managed to rally us and brought us together here. But I also want to thank Dr. Besigye. You know very well that in the recent past, Dr. Besigye, Honorable Mr. Alwega Mukabu and others took the initiative to try to rally us together. They invited us in meetings, we started meetings until we reached a level of signing a memorandum of understanding to work together, where People's Progressive Party did not sign because our point was that we cannot claim to be uniting when National Unity Platform, which is the biggest party now in the opposition, is not part of the unity. So we thought that it would be relevant if we came together, National Unity Platform, FDC, DP at that time before they joined the eating group, we thought that we would be together to have a formidable group, a formidable formation that can shake this dictatorial regime. Honorable Sir, you have talked about previous initiatives to come together. I have been part of almost all those initiatives. Honorable Sir, as you remember. Since 1996, some of us have been part and parcel of the fight to liberate Uganda from this dictatorial regime. But what is it that has failed in all of these initiatives? We must ask that big question. Honorable Robert Chakulani, Dr. Besigye, all other fellow leaders, we must ask a big question. What is it that has failed all the other initiatives that we have tried to put in place? For instance, there was a time when, I don't know whether it was IPFC, where they were going to sign the memorandum of understanding, and one of the party leaders did not turn up. So, to me, this honesty is what we must deal with if we are to unite. This honesty is very, very important, is the key in everything, more especially in the political struggle where we were fighting a dictator who can at any one point in time can infiltrate the group and use some elements within the organized groups to disorganize the group. So honesty is very, very important if this initiative that we have started shall progress. So it's very, very important. I also want to augment another point. We are all politicians here, but there are some bodies, professional bodies, religious bodies in this country. Where are you? Where are you? Journalists, where are you? This message we are conveying is not about politicians alone. Where are you? This is about your freedom. This is about liberating your country. Being a journalist does not mean that you are supposed to be neutral in each and everything. In developed countries, some newspapers, some TVs affiliate to some political, parties. You must have a cause as, came out and went to the streets. At one point in time here, when there was no walk to work, it is Kasita that wrote a letter to government to come and, and disperse the crowds that had come to participate in walk to work. Now, where are they? All their businesses have crippled.
Nobody can now do anything, but because at that moment in time they thought that it is only the politicians who are being harassed or are being persecuted. Now it has eaten everybody. So I want also to call upon all of us, because here in this country, when they are touching on Batendei, those in Owino claim that no, for us we are not in Owino, it is about Batendei. When they are touching on Bodaboda people, and they are going to demonstrate, the Owino people claim that for them they are not riding Bodaboda. When are we going to come out together? That what is touching me is touching him and it is touching this one. That is what we must do to make sure that we create a political mass. In fact, our participation in these elections, as Honorable Chairman has just said, is not about winning alone. Because what Museveni is doing is to create apathy among our population. Creating apathy so that we no longer participate in that election. That is what he's trying to do. You are saying that he's provoking us. No, he's deliberately creating that apathy so that at the end of the day the population shall resign and say we should not participate anymore. Our participation is to try to create a critical, and we must continue participating. It doesn't matter what, so that we build that critical mass that shall ultimately do what Dr. Besigye is saying. That is what took Museveni in the election of 1980. He knew he was not going to win. He knew. But he participated to create a justification for him to go and do what he did. So our participation is majorly to try to build that political mass, and we must continue doing that. Just like I said, everything has been said. I'm just echoing, I'm just augmenting some of the points that my colleagues have just, elaborated well here. But how can we work with electoral formation? I was talking to Honorable Chabrani here, and I was giving him a scenario. Here we are talking about Omoro, we are talking about Soroti. But you remember the time when Honorable Chabrani was arrested in Luuka. When the chairman of the Electoral Commission was asked whether he knew what was happening in Luuka, he said for him, he did not have a DSTV at home. Therefore, he could not see and witness what had gone on in a joking way, and say for me, they had cut me off the DSTV and I could not see. You remember the consequences of his arrest, where hundreds of people died. Here is a lawyer, a senior lawyer, whom you think that at one point in time, sanity would say he did it together to force this dictatorial regime out. With those few remarks, badde ngamba nti nebaza Honorable Kyagulanyi okutuleeta together. Kino tubadde tukirwanirira nga tukirwanirira ebbanga lyonna. Ate era nebaza Dr. Kizza Besigye, Bisa Mukaaku ne banne, kubanga kino bo baali bakitandikako dda. Naye bwe bakitandika abamu ku ffe twakirimu. Naye bwe baali basayininga twawaga nti nedda tetujja kusayininga, tujja kubaako obuzaaka era tujja kukolagana nammwe. Era in fact this was in a year. This was his, can you stand up for recognition? This is a PPP member who is an administrator in PFT initiative. So we have been working with them. Naye twe twasayininga nga tubagamba nti kyetaagisa ffenna tubeere wamu. Era natwala omutawaana okusinkana Honorable Kyagulanyi emirundi egiwera nga njagala tugende okwegatta nga ekibiina ekisinga obunene mu ggwanga ekyopposition mu kwegatta omwo mwekiri. Ndi happy, ndi musanyufu kyolwaleero Honorable Kyagulanyi akikoze ekisobola okwegatta. Bagambye nti ffenna mu Uganda tulina obligation okulwana luno olutalo. Mmwe abamawulire mmwe mwennyini muli part and parcel of this struggle.
muleme kulowooza nti mwe mujja kujja ku ripootinga bye twogedde namwe mulina obuvunaanyizibwa okuddayo bino ne mubyamplifayinga ate ne mubigaziya n'okutusinga kubanga muba n'obudde bungi bwe baba babonyaabonya ab'amawulire babonyaabonya bannabyabufuzi nammwe mukola ki nammwe mubeeramu mu mawanga agaakula empapula z'amawulire zibeera ne sayidi toyinza kubeerawo ng'oga nti nze ndi ku fensi siina wendi si kibe professionale okulaba nga abantu banyigirizibwa naawe n'okolaki n'ofuna sayidi tukubira banna professional bodies Uganda Law Society bayinginiya baani abantu abali mu bizinesi kino tekirina bwe kitajja kutuukako bakasiita oluba batinka ebbaluwa nga bagamba mbuna abajja mu kibuga okwekalakaasa bagenda kwonoona emirimu gyabwe olwaleero bakasiita bagamba nti tewali alikola bizinesi ekyakola zonna zakola ki zagwa naye nga bali balowooza nti koloba baprotectinga ki bizinesi zaabwe so tubakubira omulanga bannaddiini ebintu bisobola kubitya okugenda maaso esoroti ebifaanana bwe bityo ne tutalaba babishopu b'esoroti nga bavuddeyo okubaako kye boogera ebintu bigenda bitya maaso Amoru ne tulaba bishop be Amoru nga bavuddeyo okubaako kye bakola ki kye boogera yes waliwo abavaayo okwogera naye twagala tulabe ku maloboozi ng'ag'abakadino Nsubuga ng'ag'aba bishop Kawuma nga gavaayo kubanga kino ekigenda mu maaso bwe kinaagenda nga kyeyongerayo n'abagoberezi tebajja kugenda mu kyaki ebigambo ebyo njagala kubeebaza kuwuliriza nina kubagamba nti eno message egende ate egende ne wa Pulezidenti Museveni nti luno lwe tutandise tetugenda kudda mabega mwebale kumpuliriza.
Thank you very much, President of SDP. I want to invite the Honorable Matthias Mpuga, who is our leader in Parliament, to convene on our behalf, those of us who do work in Parliament, and then I will advise what to do next.
Yes, mwebale mwenna bali kuke mukulembeze mwebalire ddala kulaba nti ate ensonga muzigoberera Facebook abya ddala ennaku zino nteekayo katono okulaba nti ate ne ku YouTube tutambulizaayo struggle neera mbeebazamu abaliko waliwo abamu abagamba Facebook nedda kugamba naawe gendawo ku YouTube olabireko kubanga ebya ddala kiba nakyo kyetaaga.
The representation here from the different political party leaders summarizes the sentiments of the people and the frustrations of the leaders. How frustrating to work as either a loner or as a divided group, but pursuing the same goal. Already this evening, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, we shall thank our leaders for this noble initiative. The cause for a better Uganda can only serve the purpose of joining all of us, regardless of roots, regardless of individual pursuits, regardless of whether we actually are friends. The duty to serve Uganda must, out of necessity, bring us together. And I'm glad today to speak on behalf of members of Parliament from the opposition. Although over the last couple of years, I'm sort of days, I'm still wondering whether I'm still keeping my 90 members that were mortgaged within by the landlord with the municipal sold. So I'll probably have a meeting with them over the week to confirm their allegiance to the common cause. Omanyi wali kizunga nali kutulira mizigo nagamba nabo bakuwereddemu abapangisa kola kyoyagala. But I would like to most heartily thank our leaders. It's not an easy job for us in Parliament when the foundations from where these members come from are divided. It's an easier job for me to do and enforce my duty and my role as a leader
when the roots are firm, when the foundations communicate, and on that today, I can crack the whip if anybody veers off the cause of unity of the parties in and outside Parliament. I want to thank you most sincerely. And I would like to use the same platform to extend the same clarion call to all and sundry that we are not aliens in this country, and that all of us have a duty, and all of us have a capacity. The capacities can vary, the abilities can be different, but all of us can make a contribution to make this country a better country, and that we can actually summon our little energies to make them really bigger energies by working together. Thank you so much for this initiative, and I can pledge and promise that I'm going to rally my troops to move with this initiative. Thank you so much. Mukunze okwebaza obuyiiya buno n'obutetenkanya embeera ennyanja ebyene tukwasa ku nkanaga tukkiriza nti buli kimu tukikoze ekibadde kibulawo kwegatta amaanyi gano era ngera kusuubiza olw'abanange mu palamenti tinange omulimu bwe gujja kwanguwa nga twali yeebuzaabuza ekimuganya okutambula naffe agenda kusooka kulinnya motoka yadde ku kitebe yeebuuze okwebuuza kwawedde mu sululu moja anaava ku mugendo anaaba atambula n'olugendo lwe tumwagaliza olugendo olulungi n'ekyomuleka emirembe gy'anaabalaza oba namulegera ebitusomooza bingi naye mu bunaku bwaffe sekinoomu waliwo amaanyi mangi nnyo abanafu bwe beegatta bafuna amaanyi titulerangako banafu tetwenyooma olwaleero tunyukusa okwijjukiza amaanyi gaffe mangi nnyo netugasaasaanya tuwa omulabe omunafu lubojje n'afaananga ow'amaanyi n'olwekyo njala kubasuubiza mwenna ne bannayuganda abali eyo ogwange ng'atumira ttiimu eri mu palamenti nja kutuukiriza twabeewo yeebuzaabuza nti akyamala kutuuka kwebuuza twamaze dde okwebuuza kutambula ffenna basuubiza okutambula ne ttiimu eno n'ababaka bonna era ngenda kubayita mu bwangu ddala mu kokasi ey'ababaka ba palamenti ya opposition okubategeeza nti alina kyagamba nti ebikoze kikyamu awaneka omukono mwerekere eka mwebale kumpi.
Thank you very much. We've done more than 2 hours. We are supposed to have questions, now 10 aren't allowed. May I invite the chairman of the chamber to give us the closing prayer.
In the name of God, the merciful, the benefactor. Oh Allah, I Allah, we thank you for bringing us together like this, for doing something that has not been often done, that is for all the different political parties to come together. We thank you for that, and we pray that you guide this effort, you guide this initiative, you guide all the people who are involved in this, all Ugandans, as it has been emphasized here, those in political parties, those in professional bodies, the individuals, and everybody to work for the liberation of Uganda. For God, my country.
So that marks the end. May I invite our leader to leave. We thank you very much.
Yes, Chair. How are you?
Wallahi bandibadde ekifaananyi kya joyingi balindeko group photo yes nga bayimiridde ku madaala mugenda mu group photo group photo wali mpuliriza muganda wange aliko kyali mukulembeze YouTube ne Facebook bano ngamba YouTube ne Facebook YouTube zokka kwe tukoledde leero ekyo kinso bagenda mu group photo
nedda kisookera ddala era ekisinza okubeera ekikulu
bali mu group photo olaba yowapalalaga akola nnyo kyokka omulenzi gyowa jemayoli onalaga akola nnyo owapalo kiri ekisajja basali zende ku YouTube bbiri wakyawazigwayo
mugenda kunzikiriza ngenda kubavinga kino nga first photo fina then later nzenzitandika principles aweerezebuka for the picture so I'll take this then abalala Thank you very much. So let me now only have yes, of course. It was in the effect that you are involved. Thank you. This is some cup. But I will have only, let me have only the president, yes. The designates of the president. Thank you. Doctor, you qualify. Once the president, always the president. Yes, let's have that one. Thank you very much. Can I request for the individuals will have one-on-one with the leaders. Our media, you will have one-on-one with the leaders for the interview. We have opened individual interviews for all the leaders. So feel free.
Jene embeera eriwo ssaawa zino His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu ffe tutambulira sipiika w'ekibuga Zahara Ruyuli Kamara naye abaddewo nga bateekako emikono egy'okukolagana. Abantu bangi babaddewo okuwitina ensinga ne KI mukulembeze talutumidde mwana mu kulaba nti awitina ensinga enkolagana eriwo omwannyinaze ansobola okubeera nti nkwebaza lwa buli kimu akyokola YouTube mwebale kubeera nti mulaba eno gye wallahi billa gye tugenda tutandika okukolera emirimu ekyo nkikubuulira eno ku YouTube emirimu kakumirizi eno ku YouTube anko kakumirizi kimu yeno embeera eriwo ssaawa zino nsobola okulaba nti ate osobola okulaba ekigenda mu maaso ya kakumirizi ku kamera akikubye mu magezi ngenda kubeera mbirekereza okulaba nti ate His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert anji mukama wange yene embeera ebadde ku Hotel Africana Kyagulanyi Ssentamu asobodde okulaba nti babeerawo bakkiriziganye bakolaganire wamu. Ndowooza olaba bulungi ekigenda mu maaso. His Excellency the 10th President asobodde okulaba nti ate yeeryawo mu magezi embeera eriwo saawa zino zennyini. Kale leka nange mberekereze nsigadde ndike ayi mukulembeze okulaba nti ate mbaweereza nsigadde ndike ayi mukulembeze yeyo ensonga nsaba mugikwase maanyi buli kimu kyetukola tusobole okulaba nti ate joint ebadde y'amaanyi okwegatta okwegatta boyi kwegatta gemaanyi tukoledde ku YouTube leero era kyova laba nga nkugamba nnyo mukwano si mu bubi nkusabira nnyo osobole okulaba nti always ku YouTube yange buli lunaku okyekengayo kuba buli kaseera ateekako notification bell nti buli kaseera wemba ntaddeko osobola okumanya ebigenda mu maaso kuba tuteekako bya struggle byokka tetuteekako bya kiyaaye. We are in the struggle twagala kujjako nakyemalira mu 7 kyova olaba nga tukola buli kyetukola mu mateeka. Kyova olaba nkusaba teekako YouTube notification subscribinga laba buli kaseera. Leka nkwerekereze awo mukwano gwange omulungi mwebale kulaba nti ate mugoberera ensonga buli kaseera na buli bbanga. Segera kyo kiba kituyambako nti abo baba beegasse kituwa amaanyi okulaba nti ate tugusa omulamwa gw'okulaba nti nakyemalira Joel Kaguta Museveni tumuteeka wansi. Ebyokwogera bibadde bingi mubiwulidde gwe nno ali eyo tonafuya buli wolabayo omuntu yenna kati akubamu muna byabufuzi oba omukulembeze yenna ebituli tegeera ye mukyamu yenna akuba mberekereza bamikwano nsigadde ndike ayi mukulembeze ku kamera mwebalire ddala kuba nti always mulaba yeno embeera eriwo ssaawa zino okulaba nti mulaba mwebali kulaba nti mulaba ekigenda mu maaso okulaba nti ate kino kitwongera amaanyi buli kyetukola amaanyi obumu gemaanyi okwegatta gemaanyi okwegatta gemaanyi obumu gemaanyi kyova olaba nga atugamba tujja baweereza paka kyenkusaba weyongera okulaba nti osubscribinga atanaba kubeera nti osubscribinga alaba videos zino buli lunaku kubanga kyenjagala okukola starting from this month kutandika na leero lumu buli lunaku nja kubeera nteekayo buli lunaku video sobole okulaba nga ate yo ku YouTube tulabirayo nnyo wadde Facebook sigenda beera nti njivaako ne YouTube tugenda sigala tuteekayo ebyo ebigattako tosuubirake ayi mukulembeze kuteekayo kintu kigattako tuteekayo byokka bigattako okulaba nti eggwanga lyaffe Uganda at least nange oba naawe obeerako ne ka portion kogattako obeerako ne ka portion kogattako. Kale leka mberekereza bamikwano nsigadde ndike ayi mukulembeze omuweerezaawo always.